Everybody, thank you for coming. How many of you are entrepreneurs here? Almost everybody. Any investors? Few. So I can bash the investors safely, right? So I want to talk about three things here. One is talk a little bit about this concept of innovation triggers and use that as a basis to describe, at least from my perspective, what is happening in the software product ecosystem today. And then conclude by talking about investment. And at some point in time, we may run out of time because the Chief Minister may be here, and that's fine. And so we'll move to the next item at that time. So the first is innovation trigger. See, typically, if you go back in time, you will find that there is the entrepreneur enthusiasm very often is founded on something that has happened which opens up a whole new entrepreneurial segment. Today, for example, that is founded on the fact that there is enormous proliferation of the smartphone taking place, right? I mean, internet and smartphone is an innovation trigger, and that is enabling a lot of entrepreneurs, develop solutions that were not possible 3 years ago, 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago. And there are lots of people who are saying, look, we can therefore predict what the behavior of the consumers will be, especially the middle class consumers that you have. They behave very predictably the world over. So if middle class consumers in the US go online to look at the options on new cars that are available, before deciding which one to buy, and then they go to the dealer only to actually place the order and pick up the car, and Chinese middle class users do the same, then you can be sure Indian middle class users will do that in the years to come. So you have a local company here called Car which is able to raise funding on the back of this hypothesis, and legitimately so. So that's an example of innovation trigger, a thesis developing around it, that drawing number of entrepreneurs to come in and get it going. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about stuff that is happening which is not covered in the papers that much. The consumer stuff, e-commerce, neighborhood commerce, consumer apps, those are easy to understand because you and I can relate to it, and therefore it gets adequate media coverage, it gets adequate television coverage. And so I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because you know more about it than I do. I want to spend a little time talking about what is happening in the enterprise tech segment, in the B2B segment, because that is much less covered in the newspapers, in the public media that we have. And frankly, there is a revolution taking place there as well. And the revolution is a very big revolution. And that revolution has the power to catapult India into being a legitimate software product power in the years to come. So let me see if I can explain that. Let me ask a question, especially of the men here. How many of you are wearing ready-made shirts? All right. How many of you are wearing darzi-made shirts? There are very few. 20 years ago, I would bet the answer to this question would have been very different. Do you agree with that? Right? Now, did you want this shift from darzi-made shirts to ready-made shirts happen, or it happened without you willing it? It mostly happened without you willing it. It snuck up on you, and before you knew it, you had shifted from buying darzi-made shirts to ready-made shirts, right? Fair enough? This is what is happening to companies. Companies in the past used to go and buy darzi-made software. Today, they buy ready-made software. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. You must have heard of CRM as a category. Now, in the past, there was a company called Siebel, which would sell CRM software, and Siebel would be combined with SN Accenture or Infosys or a Wipro. They would together come and sell a solution to a big company, and it would end up costing, although that's not how they sold it, but it would end up costing roughly about $200 per seat per month. So they would pay $200 or $2,400 a year. Now, if you're a GE or a big company, let's say, Ashok Leyland, where your salespeople carry big big targets, you would say, hey, what's the problem? I'm GE, my minimum target that my salesperson carries is $4 million. I can afford to spend $2,400 a year on them to make them much more productive, right? So they would buy that Siebel solution because that made a lot of sense to them. Then came a company called Salesforce.com. They said, we'll give you a nearly as good a solution as Siebel, but it will cost you only $50 a person a month. If Siebel was a Toyota Corolla, this is a Honda City, right? So of course, the people who couldn't afford a Corolla could now afford a Honda City.
Just to show and just to tell about something, I am asking a simple question to all the sitting here members. How much people are knowing about the IT? I am talking about the IT. I think everybody might be knowing about the IT. But how much people are knowing about the IP, intellectual property? The first thing is this, that we are not well equipped and well aware about the intellectual property rights. We are simply thinking, oh, we have done this, that's all. What about the protection? What law says? Nobody is aware about this. And that's why subject is given me to is this, that what is the intellectual property? The many people asking a simple question, that can I patent my copyright trademark? Many people, when you are going for something to protect your IP rights, you are telling कि मुझे patent का trademark करवाना है. So this is not a right question, because there are IPs, there are laws, separate law, all have the different categories, all have the different rights also about that. So first we come to know about what is the called IP. A simple thing, IP means a creation of a mind. And that's covered the patent, trademark, industrial design, geographical indications, layout of the designs, trade secret, protection of new or plant and varieties. I am coming a single things to that. What you thought and what you have in your mind about the IP, intellectual property. A simple things I am demonstrating as a layman. IP is a very simple law which runs in only one line. You can think on that. A prior user or prior adopter has always a better right. So one line IP, only IP is this. जो पहला है, he has always a better rights. But in what categories it falls? That is called a trademark, copyright, design, patent. Nobody is knowing much more about. सबको यही है कि trademark है, that's all, final. Patent है, that's all. But everything is a different. Law is separated for that. Remedies are separated for that. For the trademark, there is a Trademark Act 1999. For the copyright, there is a Copyright Act 1957. For the patent, there is a Patent 1978. Subsequently, there are lots of amendments as also coming there. Then the Design Act 2000 and geographical indication of the goods. It's a new subject introduced in the year 2003. I will come to that step by step. First we go to the trademark. Everyone know about the trademark, as you all are the business people. You all are the manufacturer, entrepreneur. You know about your property rights. Trademark. जिस चीज को लेके आप पहचाने जाते हो, that is called a trademark. Simple, logically say, what you speak in a layman language. I am demonstrating the IP law. What you speak is a trademark. आंखें बंद कर लो. Then you think something. What you see, that is called a copyright. What you image something. Oh, I have to do something. I have to invent something. That goes in a patent. If you have something about the shape and configuration, then that goes in a design. So first you have to think in which category you are falling. These all are the separate law, I am repeating again, these all are the separate laws, separate remedies, separate procedures. So we cannot club each and everything together. Suppose I am giving a simple example to you. A CD writer, a CD player, you think on that. A CD player, let's suppose. The IP is very around there. If we see CD playing on in that, some music is coming, we are listening very carefully, we are enjoying that. In that, what kind of thing is there that cover under the Copyright Act? If we see, I have demonstrated here, the brand Panasonic, that covers under the trademark law. If you see the shape of that CD, there are many CD players are available in the market, but all have the different designs, shape, that goes in a design, and if you are inventing something in that, if you are giving some novelties to that, that goes in the Patent Act. So first thing is this, what is the trademark? As I demonstrated, a distinctive mark. It might be a symbol, it might be a tickets, it might be a logo, it might be a label. So first we have to think that what is your trademark?
Thanks a lot for having me here. I share a very special connection with Jaipur. This was really the city where I spent about 8 months while working for Satya and conceptualized the whole thought behind my first startup. And I came back to Jaipur to get my first check. So it's really good to be back in this city, but it's no more recognizable. I have completely lost the direction sense here. But let me share the story of Echo, and a story which has been a fairly challenging story. And my hope is that some of you can join dots and make sure that you don't go through the experience which I have gone through. So in any startup, there is a lot of excitement in the early days. We saw some companies present in the afternoon. There was so much of energy, so much of excitement. You know, you are in your early 20s and you see a vision, you see a massive story, a massive opportunity in front of you. But, you know, while we are excited about our new ideas, while we are really chasing and obsessive about our new ideas, it's really important to start to pick signals from around the ecosystem. And there were some signals which I missed. You know, we were trying to chase this whole big opportunity around mobile payments. You know, I started my company in 2007, and so did Flipkart start in 2007, and so did InMobi start in 2007, and many companies started after we started. But I'm not one of those poster boys. You know, my company is not up there along with InMobi and Flipkart. Was I chasing a smaller opportunity? Not at all. I don't think so. So it's very, you know, it's not a great position to see yourself 6, 7, 8 years down the line and say, what did I miss here? And why the hell did I miss this? So it's extremely important to pick signals. You know, we wanted to get into this mobile payment space because we saw that everybody in 2006-07 was having a cell phone. And people were going to retail shops, giving small amounts of money, getting a talk time recharge done. And we said, why can't banking happen like that? Why can't payments happen like that? If you deposit money at a retail store, why does it only have to reflect in your talk time account? Why can't it reflect in your bank account? And so there was a lot of excitement. You know, we came up with a technology which could enable secure transactions on absolutely unsecure channels. So whenever you press the click button today, the page hops and you go to a payment gateway page. My company built a technology way back in 2007 that when you press the pay button, it will never hop. And we thought that that was a very smart technology to build because in a small form factor of a cell phone and in the pre-smartphone days, how do you do transactions, say on just SMS or USSD? How do you not let that page hop? So it's a very unique technology which we built, almost unique globally. And we had all kinds of great partnerships, great endorsements. Imagine, we complete 1 year and you have Bill Gates in your office. And Bill Gates spent 2 hours with us. You don't need a bigger endorsement of what you're trying to do, right? But we were missing some signals. Some things weren't right. Echo was really, it was featured in every PR, every news article which had to do with payments and mobile payments. But in the last 2-3 years, Echo doesn't feature in any of those articles. There are articles around new banking licenses. We are one of the applicants. Our name doesn't get featured. It's not a great position to be in. And hence, I'm trying to share this experience with all of you, all of the bright minds who are trying to create a startup, and make sure that you're able to join dots from my learnings and not put yourself.
I was heading a company called Cyber Media, which some of you, if you're into technology publications, may be familiar with. We have publications like DataQuest, PCQuest, all of that. It was largely a traditional publishing house until, of course, the internet happened in around 1996 when public internet access came into India. We went online fairly quickly, so we went onto all the websites and so on. But somewhere around the late 2000, the 2010s time frame, the world began to move again, and all of media started getting disrupted. We just heard a story of, we've heard so many stories of disruption, and I think on the panel we'll be also talking about, this whole disruption thing, who's disrupting and who's getting disrupted, and you've got to figure out where you're going to be on the side of the disruptors or the disruptees. Well, the media, most of the traditional media has been in the side getting disrupted. And I think we've seen this in all of media. A lot of media houses have struggled to keep up with digital. Many of them have held on to print, have held on to traditional online. And by the way, the whole world has moved very rapidly to, or at least India and countries like India have moved rapidly to mobile in such a dramatic way that it has just overwhelmed the traditional media and a lot of traditional web businesses and businesses who believe they are completely online and digital, but they're very focused on the web. I want to just fast jump forward to today. So today, specifically today, Sunday, so I landed, I live in Delhi, Gurgaon. I reached here in Jaipur at midday. I moved into this hotel. So I found, I am a great coffee fan, so I quite liked the fact that in the room there was this French press for coffee. The only thing is, with the French press there was a little Nescafe instant sachet. So I didn't know what to do with that, because I thought you need filter coffee, you need fresh ground coffee. So I said, okay, it's not a big deal. But I just tweeted that hey, by the way, here's a French press, but what do I do with it? Instant coffee? And I said, ITC hotels, what do I do with this? That's all. Okay, and I moved on. About 2 minutes later, I got a call from ITC Hotels headquarters, in Gurgaon, saying that, are you staying at this thing? Have you tweeted something? And they didn't know me. Okay, so they tracked me down from the fact that my tweet location said Jaipur. Okay, and it was literally 2 minutes. And another 5 minutes later, somebody came from room service to give me a filter coffee sachet. Okay, so the power of digital is It's now the point is why. I mean, forget about my tweeting and receiving a cup of coffee or whatever. The point is why is ITC Hotels doing this? Incidentally, another interesting thing that happened in the morning. I took an Uber to the airport, and interestingly, how many of you use Uber here? Oh wow, everybody. Okay, so Uber is of course doing wonderfully well. This time, interestingly, something happened with the app, and I didn't realize it. At the airport, I got a call from the driver who had dropped me saying that, did you get a message saying that you got charged? Because he hasn't got a message saying that he's got paid. So I realized that even I hadn't got a message, and I said, that's not fair because he should get paid. So I just tweeted that out to Uber Delhi, and 10 minutes later, the charge was complete and he was paid. So there was some glitch which has happened, and they're not. Clearly, we are seeing the power of digital, which is empowering users in such a strong way and across multiple digital platforms. So just as one example, we have, in terms of internet users, India has somewhere heading to about 300 million, to 280, 290 million internet users. You know that roughly what percent of those are mobile? Is it 30, 50, 80, 90? 80? Okay. So it's about 90 something percent is mobile. Okay. So if you look at broadband alone, just broadband, okay, which is supposedly high-speed internet access defined in India as more than half megabit per second, 512 kb per second. 100 million broadband users according to TRAI. The number of wireline broadband users has remained a steady 15 million for the last 2 or 3 years. No change, no growth. Okay. The mobile users of course grown. So 100 million broadband users, 85 million of those are mobile. Now coming back to the total internet users, including broadband and non-broadband, about 250 or 260 million mobile internet users. Almost 60 to 70% of them use internet on the mobile for just 2 apps, one of 2 apps or both. So guesses which 2 apps? Facebook and WhatsApp. Okay, so no prizes there for guessing. WhatsApp and Facebook. It's pretty amazing because you see that shopkeepers, small businesses, vegetable vendors. At least where I stay in Gurgaon, there are vegetable vendors have their own little group. You go to any shop there or you call and say that you have this product, and they'll say WhatsApp a picture, or he'll WhatsApp back a picture to you. So clearly the platform is so strong that they have to be on it. They have to be on it for the groups. And by the way, Facebook in many cases is the lighter version of Facebook, which is called Facebook for every phone. Works on a lot of just called very light, non-smartphone kind of phones. Now the point is that if these companies are doing all this on social, and clearly how many of you are on WhatsApp out here? Okay, so pretty much everybody. So let me ask you another question, since most of you are involved in running businesses, how many of you actively use social media for your business? Okay, so that's a smaller set, maybe about 60%. So this is an interesting thing. You will see that there are a lot of companies using social media for business. Some of them are doing a good job of it. For example, hotels. So ITC Hotels, I think, sounds like one of the fairly progressive ones on it. If they're able to react with this speed without my giving any details, and they're not knowing me. By the way, I'm not a frequent ITC Hotels user, so I'm not an ITC Hotel member or what club ITC or whatever. Okay, they were able to track me down in 2 minutes.
I would keep it rather short because we have an interesting panel ahead and dinner waiting for us. And my topic is also something which a lot of it was covered by earlier speakers, particularly Sharad, Sharma and Mohandas Pai talked about how companies need to really look at global markets. So my topic is about going global. We talked about companies wanting to go global. Viewpoint is going to be a little bit lower, in terms of now it's a 10,000 feet view rather than a 30,000 feet view. Because I am a practitioner, I have built companies, and I'm like one of you, just wearing coat today because it was cold. So other than that, if Jay could do it, most of you could do it. So obviously it is a experience which I want to share and talk about something which is much more closer as to why one needs to go global. So a very interesting thing is that global, I treat it as a mindset. If you are in software business, you are almost already global. There's no question of somebody else not looking at your product. If you do well in marketing, then you are probably telling your competitors what you are doing. And probably somebody globally is already up on the idea, probably is much more well-funded, much more capable, has some other advantage. So is already competing in your space and could enter the Indian market where you want to focus. So there is nothing really local if you want to really, unless you are in a very protected space. Global players would not want to do it, it's a rupee staff or something like that. But however, that said, if global is a mindset, then we need to really look at opportunities and be prepared for that. One of the things which Mr. Pai mentioned earlier is that picking a business which has a global possibilities, right? So you may really see an opportunity as something which is to be done in Jaipur, maybe Rajasthan, maybe India, but eventually it could be replicated in some fashion. See, given that the idea selection is everything, one has to be careful. Here, what is very important from my own lesson is that it's not just the idea which you pick, but the idea of making the idea successful which is important. So if you really know how to come up with an idea which can be made successful, do you know and do you understand how to defend the idea? How do you prevent others from getting the same idea and practicing it and becoming even bigger probably, right? So they say that if the early bird gets the worm, then the second mouse which gets the cheese, because the first one died, right? So obviously you might make this something very successful, and you might have seeded your competitor who took the idea and implemented it in many more cities. So obviously you have to really look at how you can defend the idea. So going global is all about thinking, what can I do to really see that my product will become the next used product in some other city or some other location, country maybe, whatever. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The second advice I would say is, how do you really prepare yourself for going global? Today, fortunately, most of the businesses, we have seen some really wonderful businesses in the afternoon and had presentations with the CM as well. What we have seen is that the companies are really looking at making it world class. If their product is not world class, then obviously it is not going to succeed anyway, even in India. So obviously if the product has to be with user interface, usability and other things really taken in, and scalability coming in, if they are already built that way, then probably they are ready in some fashion. As far as technically the product is concerned, they are ready for going global. Then of course, you need to choose what market which is right for you, which is appropriate for you to go next, and why. So here again, when we were confronted with the option of picking companies this afternoon, we were given a bouquet of dozen companies. It's so difficult, in 5 minutes you hear about the companies and you've got to make a decision quickly as to whether this company needs to be presenting to the chief minister. So in that, what we realize is that those companies which can take a local advantage, take the local advantage to theirs as a strength, and then subsequently really go ahead and popularize elsewhere. Take for example a shared taxi service which can work between Delhi and Jaipur. If they can make that popular, because this is a very common route and very much used by travel and tourist people. So if they can make this successful, they have a story to really take it and elsewhere make it big. So these were a few points. I think there are many more things to go in terms of how do you need to prepare yourself, what are the things what is the kind of team which you need to put in place, what are when is it right time, what is the capital required, all kinds of things can be really thought of when somebody is considering going global.